You know the exact moment the air changed. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a slammed door or a cruel word. It was a slow, quiet withdrawal. A glance that lingered a second too long before looking away. A text that took hours, then days, then nothing at all. And you sat in the silence you didn't ask for, trying to translate absence into something that made sense. You replayed every conversation, every touch, every time you gave them your softest self, hoping it would be enough. But it wasn't. It never was. Not because you weren't enough, because the very depth you offered became the thing they couldn't hold. Your nervous system stayed open, while theirs locked down. You felt the shift in your chest before your mind could name it. A hollowing. A quiet panic that lives beneath the ribs when someone you love slowly turns into a ghost. You waited for an explanation that would never come. You waited for a reason that would finally make the pain make sense. But the truth doesn't live in words. It lives in biology. And you were speaking a language their body refused to hear. Let's be brutally honest for a moment. You stayed. You explained yourself when you didn't need to. You bent your edges to fit a space that was never meant to hold you. You mistakenly believed that if you just loved louder, if you just proved your loyalty one more time, they would finally feel safe enough to stay. You turned your empathy into a negotiation, and negotiation is the fastest way to lose yourself. You kept pouring into a cup that had a crack at the bottom. You mistook their distance for a puzzle you could solve with more patience, more understanding, more of you. But you weren't failing to reach them. You were succeeding at something far more dangerous. You were becoming their emotional regulator. And when you become the anchor for someone who only knows how to drift, they will eventually cut the rope. Not because they want to drown you, because they don't know how to stop floating. You gave them a nervous system they didn't have to manage. And when the weight of that gift became too heavy, they dropped it. You called it abandonment. Their body called it survival. Here is what you never saw, because it doesn't show up in arguments or apologies. When you love like a super empath, you don't just feel emotions. You regulate them. You carry a nervous system that acts as a steady current in turbulent water. Your presence lowers cortisol. Your calm signals safety. Your attunement creates a physiological resonance that most people spend years trying to fake. But to someone wired for avoidance, that same safety feels like a slow suffocation. Their amygdala doesn't read your warmth as comfort. It reads it as demand. Every time you leaned in, their nervous system registered a threat. Not because you were too much, because their biology was trained to equate closeness with loss. The deeper you went, the more their body braced for the inevitable collapse. So they pulled away. Not out of cruelty, out of survival. They weren't rejecting you, they were rejecting the flood. Your empathy opened a door to emotional intimacy their nervous system was never taught how to walk through. So they stood in the threshold, trembling, and then closed it. Slowly, quietly, leaving you to wonder what you did wrong. You did nothing wrong. You just felt too clearly for someone who learned early on that feeling is dangerous. They didn't stop caring. That's the lie they tell themselves, and the one you're allowed to believe so you can sleep. What actually happened was far more primal. Their nervous system short-circuited. You offered a frequency of emotional attunement so rare, so unguarded, that it overloaded their capacity to process it. Avoidance isn't a lack of feeling. It's a dam built against feeling too much. And when the water rises past the cracks, they don't walk away because they want to. They walk away because they're drowning in a current they don't know how to swim. Your presence triggered a cortisol spike their body interpreted as emotional flooding. Their dopamine pathways, wired to reward independence and self-reliance, suddenly registered intimacy as a loss of control. So they retreated to what felt familiar, to what felt safe, to the cold, quiet space where no one could ask them to be more than they knew how to be. They told themselves they were fine. They told themselves they just needed air. They didn't realize they were cutting off their own oxygen. They left you with the silence. They took the panic with them, and for a long time, you carried both. This is where everything shifts. Not when you chase, not when you explain, but when you finally understand the power of silence. Not the silence of punishment, not the cold shoulder, the silence of non-reactivity, the kind that comes when you stop trying to fix what was never yours to fix, when you withdraw your emotional labor not as a tactic, but as a boundary. That silence is not empty. It is a vacuum, and vacuums pull. When you stop chasing, you disrupt their entire psychological script. Avoidants expect pursuit. They expect you to close the distance they created. They expect you to prove your loyalty by leaning into their withdrawal. It's a familiar dance. It keeps them in control. It keeps you guessing.
But when you step off the floor, when you stop performing the role of the wounded lover begging for closure, their nervous system loses its reference point. Non-reactivity is not indifference. It is sovereignty. It is the quiet refusal to let their distance dictate your worth. And in that quiet, something remarkable happens. Their dopamine reward system, starved of the familiar validation, begins to glitch. The brain craves predictability. You suddenly became unpredictable. And unpredictability is the fastest way to awaken a dormant attachment system. Picture them now, after the space you created. They tell themselves they're free. They move on quickly. They find someone lighter, someone who doesn't ask for depth, someone who matches their emotional pace. It feels easier. It feels safe. For exactly 3 weeks. Then the nights get longer. The dopamine hits from novelty wear off, and what's left is a quiet, gnawing depletion. They scroll through old messages they never replied to. They notice how no one else looks at them the way you did. Not with expectation, with recognition. They start remembering your patience, the way you didn't flinch when they flinched, the way you held space without demanding it back. And for the first time, they feel the weight of what they walked away from. Not as a person, as a physiological imprint. Their nervous system remembers your regulation. That's the unspoken reason they can't replace you. You weren't just a partner. You were a mirror that reflected a version of themselves they rarely get to meet. Someone worthy of steady love. Someone allowed to be soft without being punished for it. And now that you're gone, their body is in a state of chronic cortisol arousal. They try to distract it. They try to fill it with noise, with validation, with surface-level connections. But nothing sticks. Because depth isn't interchangeable. The brain doesn't archive emotional resonance like a playlist. It wires it into the nervous system. And you left an imprint that casual affection can't overwrite. Watch what happens next. It's not dramatic. It's slow. It starts with a glance at your profile, then a like on a post they wouldn't normally engage with, then a message that sounds casual but carries the weight of someone testing the waters. They won't say, "I miss you." Not yet. They'll say, "I was just thinking about you," or "I saw something that reminded me of us." They'll frame it as coincidence, but it's not. It's their attachment system finally waking up from hibernation. It's the moment their avoidant armor cracks under the pressure of their own unmet nervous system. They start chasing. Not because you played a game, because your absence became the loudest thing in their life. And for the first time, they realize silence isn't empty. It's a reflection. They remember how your presence lowered their heart rate, how your calm made their chest stop feeling tight, how your empathy didn't demand performance, only presence. They try to find that in someone else. They search for it in strangers, in fleeting conversations, in temporary distractions. But the brain doesn't forget a frequency it was wired to. It only learns how much it misses it when it's gone. They begin to obsess, not in a healthy way, in a fractured, hungry way. The kind of hunger that doesn't want love. It wants regulation. It wants the nervous system relief they never learned how to generate on their own. And you were the only one who gave it to them, without making them earn it. But here is the warning you must hear, even if it stings. Do not mistake their panic for love. Do not confuse their sudden availability with readiness. The avoidant mind will reach for you when it's lonely, not when it's healed. If you return to the old rhythm the moment they knock, you will reset the entire cycle. You will become the safe place they use to regulate, only to retreat from again when the warmth gets too real. That is not reconciliation. That is relapse. The only way out is to refuse the old dance, to hold your silence until it transforms into sovereignty, to let them miss you without making yourself available for their convenience. You don't break the pattern by explaining yourself. You break it by outgrowing the need to be understood by someone who couldn't hold you. Their chasing is not a gift. It's a test. A test to see if you will still shrink, if you will still bend, if you will still trade your center for their temporary comfort. Do not pass it. Do not lower your frequency to meet their panic. Let them feel the weight of what they created. Let them sit in the quiet they chose. You are not here to rescue them from their own nervous system. You are here to honor yours. This is where you stop surviving the attachment and start claiming your worth. You were never the problem. You were the catalyst. And catalysts don't wait for the reaction to validate their existence. You are not a temporary fix for someone else's fear. You are the standard. The one who showed up with your nervous system intact, who loved without losing your center, who finally chose to stop pouring yourself into a container with cracks. That choice is not a loss. It is an awakening. Feel the shift in your chest. The heavy, tired weight of waiting is gone. What replaces it is not bitterness. It is clarity. You no longer need to decode their silence. You no longer need to earn the right to be loved deeply. You already possess the very thing they will spend years searching for in strangers. Emotional depth, unshakable presence, the courage to love fully, even when it wasn't returned. That is not a flaw. That is your power. And power does not beg,
It stands. You don't need to prove your sensitivity to someone who ran from it. You don't need to translate your depth into a language that only understands surface. Your nervous system is finally learning to trust itself again, to stop reaching for hands that only know how to let go, to stop mistaking distance for mystery, to stop believing that love requires sacrifice of your own center. You are done translating absence into worth. You are done waiting for someone else to catch up to your depth. You are already whole, already complete, already enough. When they finally realize what they lost, it won't be because you reminded them. It will be because the silence you left behind taught them how loud their own emptiness really is. And you won't be there to fill it, not out of spite, out of self-respect. You have moved into a frequency where love doesn't require you to abandon yourself to be seen, where connection doesn't demand you shrink to fit, where your presence is not a reward to be earned, but a gift to be shared with those who know how to receive it. Breathe into that. Feel it settle into your bones. You are not the empath who lost someone. You are the person who outgrew the need to shrink. You are the one who learned that your sensitivity is not a liability. It is a compass. It points toward truth. It points toward people who can meet you in the deep without flinching. It points toward yourself. And when you finally stand in that truth, something remarkable happens. The avoidant's inability to replace you stops being a wound. It becomes evidence. Evidence that you were never meant to be a stepping stone. You were meant to be the destination. The nervous system doesn't lie. It remembers what the mind tries to forget. Yours is rewiring itself around a new baseline, one where your worth isn't tied to someone else's capacity to hold you, one where your love isn't a currency you trade for scraps of attention, one where you are the source, not the seeker. Let them navigate their own healing. Let them learn the hard way that depth cannot be replicated, cannot be replaced, cannot be forgotten. You already know the truth, and the truth doesn't need their acknowledgement to be real. You are the one who loved deeply. You are the one who survived the silence. You are the one who finally chose yourself. And that choice changes everything. Not because it makes them come back, because it makes you never want them to. The unspoken reason they can't replace you is simple. You don't replace a frequency. You only remember it. And you are already tuned to a higher one. Keep walking. Keep standing. Keep choosing the quiet power of your own worth. The rest will follow. Or it won't. And you'll still be complete.